On today's World Insight, China launches joint sword military exercises off the island of Taiwan in response to Tsai Ing-wen's meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. How has the PLA's capabilities changed since the military drills last August? And here is our host, Tian Wei.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. The Eastern Theater Command of the People's Liberation Army carried out a number of simulated strikes against the key targets on Taiwan Island and its surrounding waters in exercises over the weekend. In addition to the mock joint exercises with precision attacks, forces under the command continue to surround the island to maintain a situation of deterrence and suppression. These operations serve as a stern warning to pressure Taiwan Independence forces and aim to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity. What are the highlights of these drills, and will the military exercise become a new normal to deter those separatist forces? For more insights, let's loop in our panelists. Joining me in the Beijing studio, Zhao Xiaozhuo, researcher at the PLA Academy of Military Science, and Tang Li, researcher at Naval Research Institute of PLA. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Now, tell us more about the nature of the military exercise off the coast of Taiwan. Mr. Zhao.
这个从4月8号到10号吧，就是解放军呢，事实上是举行了2个活动。 一个是环台岛战备警巡，还有一个是联合利剑演习。
From April 8th to the 10th, the Chinese People's Liberation Army has organized 2 exercises. One is combat readiness patrols around Taiwan Island, while the other one is joint sword military drills. These 2 military exercises have a clear purpose, aimed at Taiwan Independence separatist forces and the provocative activities of seeking Taiwan independence, which is in response to Tsai Ing-wen's stopover in the United States from March 27th to April 7th. Originally, such a layover was a technical requirement for the plane because she was going to visit Guatemala and Belize, which required a stopover in the United States. However, she took advantage of this opportunity by peddling Taiwan independent activities in the U.S. The duration of her layover was excessive, and she attended many public events, the highest profile of which was her meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Tsai Ing-wen and McCarthy are senior political figures, so their meeting seriously challenged the One China principle. Against this backdrop, China must take a resolute response to it. China has already imposed sanctions on several Taiwan independent separatist forces. Meanwhile, the Chinese Foreign Ministry, the Ministry of National Defense, the Taiwan Work Office of the CPC Central Committee, and the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National People's Congress all issued statements strongly condemning such a move. At the same time, China is also taking military action against the Taiwan Independent separatist forces and their actions. This is because the Chinese People's Liberation Army is the force that safeguards the country's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity, maintains national reunification, and resolutely opposes Taiwan independence. Therefore, overt Taiwan independence must be punished. So this military operation is to resolutely counter Taiwan independence activities, especially Tsai's provocative transit to the United States.
所以这次我们搞这个军事行动呢，就是要坚决反击这个台独的活动，尤其是这次蔡英文过境访美。
I understand it's already the 3rd day of the military exercise. So, Ms. Tang, tell us more about what are the contents of the 3-day military exercise so far, and why are they so important?
从4月8号到4月10号，解放军开展战备、巡导和联合利剑演习。
The Chinese PLA held combat readiness patrols and military drills around Taiwan Island from April 8th to 10th. The content of the first day of the exercises can be described as unsheathing the sharp swords in seizing the control through joint operations. The second day is to carry out simulated joint precision strikes on key targets, while the last day is to maintain a situation of deterrence and suppression around the encircled islands. To be more specific, on the first day of the military drills, the PLA sent new warships, fighter jets, bombers, anti-submarine aircrafts, and other naval and air combat platforms to carry out large-scale exercises such as seizing control of air, sea, and communications. On the second day, simulated joint precision strikes on key targets were carried out. The PLA used multiple types of long-range precision firepower to perform a variety of warfare tactics such as full-time tracking, targeting and quick hits, precision strikes on key objectives at any time, and military harassment attacks on the important nodes in the Taiwan Islands military system. The third day is to maintain a situation of deterrence and suppression. The sword pointed at troublemakers and evil forces. We want to send a clear signal to the outside world that Taiwan Independence is a dead end, where relying on outsiders will never work. Our military will smash the fantasy of the Taiwan Independence forces attempting to seek independence by soliciting U.S. support.
这次的军事行动虽然时间不长，但是内涵丰富，实战性更强。
The military drill this time, although just in 3 days, were rich in content and highly combat-oriented. There are many highlights. First, with clearer purposes, the combat readiness patrols and military drills focus on deterring Taiwan separatist forces and external forces. Second, a tight advance around the island. During the exercise, the naval and air combat platforms from different directions organized patrols and advances around Taiwan Island to shape an all-direction and deterrence situation on the encircled island. This is also to show our clear attitude to the forces of Taiwan Independence. Third, better tactics, mainly to leverage the advantage of our army to control the sea by land. Multiple types of warships and equipments were also involved. The Shandong aircraft carrier passed through the Baishi Channel and came to the east of the island to perform pincer movement in collaboration with the Air Force to establish deterrence. The fourth point is a robust combat system. The war of the future is a war of a system against system. What we see this time is new types of advanced hardware such as aircraft, warships and missiles. What we do not see is software facilities such as reconnaissance, detections and early warning. The military exercises in the past 3 days have demonstrated the results of strengthening the military through reform and practicing the military for war preparedness. The strength of anti-Taiwan independence has been honed and the confidence is stronger.
回顾这几天的演训活动，展现了解放军改革强军、练兵备战的实实在在成果，反独促统的能力实力更强，信心底气更足。
So that the independent forces would be able to see what exactly will be their fate eventually.
对，其实不光是第3天，其实我觉得3天其实都很重要。
The third day alone is important, but I think all 3 days are equally important because they represent 3 phases. April 8th is the first phase of the exercise, focusing on seizing dominance by sea, air, and communications. It is now a naval battle, so seizing these 3 controls is crucial. Such superiority can put us in a better place on the battlefield. April 9th is the second phase to carry out mock joint precision strikes on key targets such as destroyers, frigates, missile boats, fighter jets, bombers, and drones. So on the second day, the main task is to strike land, sea, and air targets.
要么是陆地的那些重要目标，要么是海上的或者空中的这些目标。其实第2天主要是打击目标。
Coming to the third day, the main content is to block interference by external forces. No matter firepower or warships, all should be blocked to the east of Taiwan Island. The Shandong Aircraft Carrier Task Force in the military exercise is now located to the east of Taiwan Island. The task in the previous phase of the task force is to form a suppressive posture with the naval and air forces in the Taiwan Straits against the island. On the third day, a portion of the Shandong Carrier Task Force's firepower and troops will be aimed at the eastern part of the island, or at the Pacific Ocean, to prevent external forces from intervening. The military exercises are to surround and control Taiwan Island and to block external forces' intervention.
所以整个这个设计呢，其实是大的就是两部分，一部分就是围控台岛，另一部分呢就是阻止外部势力的干预。
So how do you see the international reaction so far?
我事实上我这两天没有关注啊，就是这个外部会怎么反应，或者西方会怎么反应，但是我大致能猜到他们会怎么反应。
In fact, I haven't paid attention to the international reactions yet, but I can guess how they will react. They could say that this is just a visit to the U.S. by Tsai, but you are making a big deal out of it. Isn't that an overreaction? They will definitely say that. But what I want to emphasize is that their meeting blurred and hollowed out the One China principle. The One China principle has a clear and unambiguous meaning, i.e., there is but one China in the world. The Taiwan region is an inalienable part of China, and the government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legal government representing the whole of China. The United States made a clear commitment to these when establishing diplomatic relations with China in 1979. Each U.S. administration recognizes and acknowledges the three China-U.S. joint communiques on the establishment of diplomatic relations. Although the U.S. committed so, they say one thing and do another. On the one hand, they admit that the Taiwan region is an inalienable part of China. On the other hand, they make a lot of small moves, and the transit trip to the United States by Tsai is one such little trick. China is an independent sovereign state, and the PLA is the force that safeguards the country's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity. We must carry out countermeasures and sanctions. Therefore, I believe it is not an overreaction, it is a normal reaction.
所以中国呢，作为一个独立主权国家，就是中国军队呢，作为这个维护国家领土主权安全的这个力量，必然要做出反击反制。所以我觉得这个不是过度反应，是正常的反应。
But on the other hand, is this going to, Mr. Zhao, escalate the tensions in the region as some Western analysts suggested?
有可能会加剧这个台岛附近这种的不太安全。
That could escalate the attention. But who should pay the bill? Is it because the PLA drills make the situation around the island worse, or the Taiwan Independence forces? I believe it is the latter one. It is because of the Taiwan Independence forces that have forced the PLA to take counteractions. Let me give you an example. A person is sick and has a tumor on his body, and we have to operate to remove this tumor, and the body will feel pain. But what causes this pain? Scalpels or the tumor? Of course, the tumor.
疼是谁造成的呢？是手术刀造成的，还是这个瘤造成的？那肯定是这个瘤造成的嘛。
If we don't remove the tumor, there is something wrong with our health. The core root of the problem is the separatist forces of the Taiwan Independence. Therefore, an operation is a must. Scalpels should not pay the responsibility. If the U.S. and the West really want to maintain stability in the Taiwan Straits, then we must all work together to stop the Taiwan Independence forces and their actions and not infringe on China's core interests. We always advocate mutual respect and win-win cooperation. The U.S. verbally acknowledges these principles, and in fact, what she does is otherwise. If someone offends China's core interests, why should China not make a counterattack?
你侵犯了中国的核心利益，你还不允许中国会做一些反击吗？
The world is changing fast, taking all our lives with it. But we can change it too, by seeking answers to problems through discussions and debates. On World Insight, I ask direct questions to real people in the know. seek genuine answers, but respect diverse perspectives. Our live global debates tackle the most critical issues head-on. World Insight with Tian Wei go beyond the headlines. You know, this 3-day military exercise, Mr. Zhao, what kinds of military capabilities is this likely to show to the rest of the world about China?
我觉得我们至少有3种能力吧。头一个能力呢，就是围困台岛的能力。
3 capabilities. First, the capability to encircle and control the Taiwan Island. This capability was tested on the first and second phases of the exercise by crossing the so-called median line from the west, deploying the Shandong aircraft carrier to the east, while troops were deployed to the south and the north of the island. The goal is to shape an all-direction encirclement. This capability honestly used to be something that the PLA did not have. Taiwan Island considers the eastern part of the island to be very safe, so there are many cave depots and airports that are built in the mountain, the central mountain range of the Taiwan Island, a safe place. This barrier is now a thing of the past. The second capability is a precision strike capability, or long-range strike capability. Multiple units of the PLA Navy, Air Force, Ground Force are all involved this time. The Army deploys long-range boxed rocket launchers with a range of tens to hundreds of kilometers, covering the whole island. It is a mobile weapon system, so it can strike in one place and then quickly deploy to another place. So it is very stealthy with strong combat capabilities. In terms of rocket forces, the conventional ballistic missiles are also mobile weapon systems, so it can fire for one round in one place and then quickly be sent to another place for another round of firing. The PLA has already mastered precision strike capability. The third capability is to block the intervention of external forces. Taiwan Island is not a place where external forces can come over or interfere whenever they want. They cannot approach the island. Even if they come over, they do not have the freedom of action. If they want to move freely, they have to take great risks. Their freedom of movement is greatly restricted. We have long said that the Taiwan issue is the Chinese people's own problem, and that the people on both sides of the Taiwan Straits have the wisdom to solve the Taiwan issue without the intervention of external forces. Any such intervention will be opposed by China. All in all, these capabilities can be summarized as one capability. Thanks to the 2015 defense and military reform, the PLA has had a strong joint combat system between land, sea, air, and rocket forces. Under this system, capabilities such as early warning, command and control, and precision strikes have been built up.
So, Mr. Zhao, looking into the future, are we going to see more military exercises like this from China in the area?
We are targeting Taiwan Independence activities in this joint sword military exercise. If there are further activities seeking Taiwan independence, there will be more exercises. The situation in the Taiwan Straits has changed a lot since Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan last year. Combat readiness patrols, especially by naval and air forces, have already become a normal practice. We have already crossed the so-called median line, entering the so-called air defense identification zone. The Taiwan region is an inalienable part of China, so there is no such things like median lines. Since Taiwan is a province of China, there is no air defense identification zone. The PLA is free to fly in that area. That is the normal practice of combat readiness patrols. This time, on top of the patrols, joint sword exercise is also performed in response to Tsai's provocative transit trip to the U.S. If Taiwan independence forces carry out high-profile activities, China will have more military drills in response. Anti-Taiwan independence is a process. All in all, don't salami slice the Taiwan issue. Taiwan Independence forces intend to expand the space for Taiwan independence. It is not acceptable because Taiwan is part of China.
How do you see the cooperation among the three, air, sea, and also land? How do you see this military exercise that demonstrate the capabilities of cooperation among the three?
这个我觉得就是最近这几年来解放军最大的变化。
The joint warfare capability has changed tremendously over the years, and I should say the biggest change, one of the key tasks of the military and defense reform, is to strengthen the joint combat capabilities of the military branches. After the reform, we established theater commands, which were previously military area commands under the management of the Army, while the Air Force had its own military command and the Navy had its own warship combat unit. This was the management model based on each military service. Now we've established theater commands. The joint drills this time are led by the Eastern Theater Command with full service including Army, Navy, Air Force, Rocket Force, and conventional missile units. This is the current management model. Moreover, the PLA have already carried out 5 live-fire military exercises. A lot of them were joint exercises. In order to adapt to the joint exercises, weapons and equipment have changed a lot. The quality of personnel and even the military school curriculum have changed remarkably to strengthen the joint combat capability. Land, sea, and air forces can form greater synergy. The strong combat capability should be credited to the year-long joint exercises.
What about the Eastern Theater? It seems that we have seen the Eastern Theater demonstrating its military capabilities a lot in front of the eyes of the world. So how is it compared to the other parts and other theaters of China's military?
This is because the primary function of the Eastern Theater Command is to be responsible for the Southeast Coast, and the primary question on the Southeast Coast is the Taiwan question. So you can see that there are a lot of military drills going on. The reason behind this is that the Taiwan Independence forces are too active. If they weren't active, the Eastern Theater Command would be similar to the other theater commands. At least it would not have many high-profile international appearances. We don't want to see this many high-profile appearances in the Eastern Theater Command either, but only if the Taiwan Independence forces don't act so brashly. If they do act brashly, the Eastern Theater Command has to be seen frequently. Even at certain critical times, the Eastern Theater Command will not only engage in military exercises, I think it will carry out military operations.
Really?
Yes.
So, Ms. Tang, we see this time 3-day military exercises. When the news is spreading around China, a lot of people were curious about what this means to their life and peace in the future for Chinese around the world. So from your perspective, how do you see what this is likely to show to everybody in the world?
China's position and attitude towards Taiwan and the separatist forces of Taiwan Independence have been consistent. We are firmly opposed to any form of official interaction between the US and the Taiwan region, and we are firmly opposed to Tsai Ing-wen's visit to the US in any form for any reason. We firmly oppose the US-sized violation of the One China principle and the 3 China-US joint communiques, as well as any form of interaction between the US and the DPP authorities. Tsai's provocative transit to the US is to peddle Taiwan independence and secessionist propositions. These are all serious mistakes, provocations, and escalations by the United States on the Taiwan question with serious consequences. Fundamentally, Tsai Ing-wen and the DPP party are the troublemakers and provocateurs of instability in the Taiwan Straits, and the people on Taiwan Island should see clearly the effect of Taiwan's secessionist forces and external forces in Taiwan.
Mr. Zhao?
没有人喜欢战争。
No one likes war. It's not that you are a soldier, so you must like war. The military's profession is to fight and prepare for war, and thus soldiers know better what war means to ordinary people and to the soldiers themselves. We could say that military personnel cherish peace more than anyone else. For military families, if there is someone in the family who serves in the military, the family members understand the possibility that the loved one may die for the country at any time. Therefore, they know all too well the meaning of life. But it's not that we don't want war. We are peace-loving. But they are not allowed to rub sand in our eyes, as is the case with any country. If someone poses a threat to the most core interests, like national sovereignty and national unity of a country, then it is bound to strike back. It is true to all countries, including the U.S. There have been many wars in American history, such as the War of American Independence and the Civil War, all because of the inability to compromise on the major principles.
重大原则问题上呢，他就是没法做妥协。
So, in retrospect, what do you see is the most important message the 3-day military exercises China is willing to show to the rest of the world?
Through this military exercise, we want to convey to the outside world that we resolutely resist and oppose the separatist forces of Taiwan Independence and warn external forces from contemplating interference. There is only one China in the world, and we are firmly opposed to undermining the one China principle and the 3 joint communiques between China and the US. The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation is shared. The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation is the shared aspiration of the Chinese people.
我觉得
My observation is that this year, the relationship between China and the outside world has changed a lot. One is that the pandemic in China is very well contained. The Chinese people have returned to normal life, and everyone is rolling up their sleeves to promote economic development. You can see people everywhere, at the airports, aboard the trains, and eating in restaurants. That is a very positive sign. China's diplomatic posture is more open and progressive. More interaction between China and the outside world are ongoing. We have seen Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, French President Emmanuel Macron, and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen all visiting China. China's main focus this year is to propel its economy with predicted GDP growth of 5%. Having said that, it does not mean that we only focus on economic development and tolerate provocations of the Taiwan Independence forces and let it incubate. These two things do not conflict with each other. On the one hand, China will not only open its door wider and wider to the outside world, so all countries can work together to boost economic development, keeping the momentum of stability and peace in the Asia-Pacific going for years to come. On the other side, we will not make any concessions on issues relating to core interests of the country. We would rather pay the price economically. We cannot make any compromise on the major issues of national territory, sovereignty, and security.
Zhao Xiaozhuo, Tang Li, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. That's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to know more, search World Insight. Check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for being with us.